created the language spoken by the natives in the blockbuster film Avatar. So where do you actually start when creating a language like this?
Well, I didn't start from absolute zero because James Cameron had come up with a few words of his own. So I took those words, got a feeling of the sound he had in his mind, but then you begin talking about the entire sound system of the language. You begin talking about the morphology, which is how you build up words, nouns and verbs, how you put them together in phrases and sentences, and then how the language interacts with culture. And then you begin coining words and begin translating dialogue.
If you had to pick a language that this was most similar to, what would you say it was?
I don't know if I could take any one language as the basis of Na'vi. There are certain influences on the language. There are certain things in Na'vi that sound a little bit like or are reminiscent of things in Persian or things in Chinese or things in Hebrew or in Indonesian. But the combination of elements is unique. So I don't think there's any language on earth that's quite like Na'vi. It's been very gratifying when people tell me that they've seen the movie and they say, you know, it sounds like a real language. It sounds totally natural, and I really like the sound of it, and it just seemed to fit into the movie really well. If that's a reaction of people, then I think I've done my job. Okay. It's also been tremendously exciting to see the growth of a Na'vi community where fans really all over the world are embracing the language and trying to speak it and writing it. I'm now getting long emails written to me entirely in the language. There are people who are speaking it better than I can speak it. So that's been really quite gratifying.
Is there any particular scene in Avatar where the language is being used that you like the most?
There's a wonderful interpretation scene where Jake, played by Sam Worthington, of course, who was a native of Perth.
Rockingham boy?
Yeah, absolutely. Was rallying the troops, and the warrior Tsute is interpreting for him. And so that was kind of fun to work with because I had to come up with an interpretation that wouldn't take up much more space than the actual language. And that took a little bit of doing, but it was kind of fun.
Yeah.
This has been a marvelous conference. I mean, one of the great things about what I'm doing now, going around the world and being invited to speak at places like Fremantle, is that I'm meeting extraordinarily interesting people, making new friends, learning a lot. And so, yeah, absolutely. I was talking to someone at the conference just this evening who was telling me about some of the native indigenous languages of Australia, which have some of the same structural features as Na'vi. And in fact, one of the endings on nouns I discovered just by talking to someone is virtually the same in an indigenous language as it is in Na'vi. So I mean, just talking about these things and getting input from people has been amazing.